Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox, along with Andrew Gay, welcoming you to the Kerrville Weekly News for the week ending March 22, 2025. I'm doing the intro today. So, Andrew, I'm going to ask you to take us off with a couple of stories.
Sounds great, Tom. Glad to be here. So, first off, let's talk about the fundraiser that I went to this past week because they made an appearance at Rotary, I believe, Wednesday as well. Went to a luncheon Thursday at Shriner University for the Hill Country College Fund. This was one of my first more in depth exposure to the Hill Country College Fund. They, I believe, service about 750,000 in grants here locally in the Hill Country area annually. So it's a really big deal, and it was really nice to sit down with some folks that I know, friends, acquaintances, and just listen to some of their story and what they do here for the local communities. I would encourage anybody that doesn't know about the Hill Country College Fund to just give it a quick Google and check it out and see some of the work they're doing here in our backyard. So that was one story. The other story I wanted to mention, I don't know that we've talked about this on here yet, Tom, but KPUB, our local energy provider here in Kerrville, has been approved for a new power plant. And I had the privilege of going on Louis Amestoy's the Kerr County lead the other day with Mike Whitler, who's the sitting president of KPUB here. And I was able to sit once again and listen to him talk a little bit more in depth about what some of the details of this power plant. It's very interesting. I kind of had to learn a little bit about power sources and how rates work and some of that. But the long and short of it, from my understanding, is even though this gas powered plant is not going to be located here, it's going to basically subsidize our energy deficits when we need it. And that will allow us or KPUB to keep more stable rates, which is a great thing for us here locally. I pay a KPUB bill, and it's great to not really have an outstanding, crazy amount of an electricity bill here locally. And you can hear some of the same things from at least people that I've talked to here locally as well, that they think that their power bills relative to other areas are relatively low. Those are my two stories for this week. Tom, what do you got for us?
Unfortunately, I'm going to talk about the fires. And we had a tragedy in Kerrville on Monday when a couple's house trailer went up in flames. Fortunately, they were not there and were not injured, but their dog, who was in the house, did die. And it's Carrie Smith and her husband. Keep them in your thoughts. I think Lewis actually had them on the lead. They're got a effort to raise some funds to help them relocate. And the biggest story, I think, in quite some time, certainly around fires, was the Crabapple fire, which broke out last Saturday north of Frederiksberg. This fire was driven literally by 50-mile-an-hour winds. We had a huge windstorm on Saturday. We had red flag warnings out. We had all of the local fire departments were fully mobilized and ready to go. Even here in Tierra Linda, our little fire department was out putting out little brush fires. But anyway, Crabapple took off. It exploded in size, going to over 10,000, burning over 10,000 acres, largely north of Frederiksberg. It jumped Highway 16 pretty early. The attempts to contain it failed, not because of the engineering or the work by the firefighters, but literally the embers were blowing out at half a mile, and you just cannot cut enough fire breaks that far away from a fire. It burned all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and into Monday. The smoke got as far as Austin, and we were collectively really lucky, Andrew. The wind was blowing west to east, so it blew away from Frederiksberg. It wasn't blowing towards Kerrville, but you can clearly see how fire is such a dangerous animal in this part of Texas. And with the dry conditions we've been having, it's only going to get worse and worse. Most counties, both Kerr County and Gillespie County, have fire burns in place. So please pay attention to those burn bans and do not burn outside. If you have any open flames, just be as careful as you can. So those were sort of the news stories I wanted to talk about. But I wanted to talk about this weekend, Andrew, because tonight Michael Martin Murphy is playing in Frederiksberg, and my wife and I are going to that. So we're really looking forward to seeing an artist that came out literally a little before I went to college, and he's had a great career. Michael Murphy, Wildfire and Carolina in the Pines are two of his top hits. Also,
And
Lost in Yonkers, a
we
Neil
both know
Simon play.
we both
What?
know someone that has a signed guitar by him, I believe. We've talked about that on the podcast before. You remember Daryl's guitar?
Daryl knew him when he was Mike,
Yes.
and he was the house singer at a coffee shop in Dallas. I interviewed an author who hung out in coffee shops in Dallas in the early 60s. And Murphy played there as a teenager. And then, of course, Daryl knew him as Mike. He's got the signed guitar. He's a great Texas treasure. Also, I wanted to shout out to the VK Garage Theater. While the Caillou is closed for repairs, they're putting on Lost in Yonkers, one of the trilogy of Neil Simon's plays about his growing up in New York City and going to the army and then becoming a playwright. And so that's always a lot of fun, a great play if you're into theater. Also, get ready because the Museum of Western Art is gearing up for a variety of art workshops coming up. And those are all on the museum's website. And the last weekend in April, the last full weekend in April, the 26th and 27th, is Roundup, where the museum puts on its biggest fundraiser of the year, and it has multiple paintings from artists from the Cowboy, I forgot the name of their Hall
Cowboy
of
artist.
Fame now, Cowboy Artists of America, CAA.
Yeah.
And so there'll be a lot of great stuff there. And check that out. Take your checkbook. And so you can help out the Museum of Western Art. But if you're interested in being an artist, and we do a podcast called the Hill Country Artist Podcast, check out the upcoming classes. Carol Arnold, a woman we interviewed for the Hill Country Artist Pod, is going to be teaching there as well at the Museum of Western Art. So it's a great, real way for you to explore your love of art if you have it.
Wonderful.
What
Thank
about you guys, Andrew? What are y'all doing this weekend?
I don't think we are doing a whole lot, just because it is not a secret that we are expecting a child at the end of May, a baby girl, and we have some baby shower details to attend to. Very important. So
What
we
about
will
March Madness?
honestly, Tom, since college, I've gotten further away from March Madness. I'll do the thing to where I won't really pay too much attention until it gets down to the Sweet 16, and then all of a sudden I'm interested.
The final four this year is in San Antonio.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. What
Yeah,
about you? You got anything going on for that?
it just depends on who's in it.
You any
I got
brackets or anything?
Michigan and Michigan State. I suppose if U of H is in it, I'd be interested in that too, although I'm not a huge Cougar fan. But it'd be good to see the Cougars win one finally, if they get that far. But a lot of fun, a lot of basketball, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of brackets, a lot of $20 bills changing hands.
Yeah.
It's the full package. It's a financial investment at its finest.
That was your comment, not mine.
We do not give out financial advice on this podcast.
Right.
Let's just be clear.
Yeah, that's right. All right, good
All right,
stuff.
Andrew. Look, have a great weekend, and we look forward to visiting with you all next week on the Kerrville Weekly News.
Thanks, Tom. See you next time.
All right.
Great.
Here we go.